Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, hello creepy friends, happy Christmas Day! I hope you're all enjoying yourselves. Should we crack open a little drink to celebrate the season? Because you guys know I don't drink. We're even going to be all fancy-dancy with it. Like, I'm not even going to fill it to the top. Ready? Here's the Christmas Day 2016. So today what we're going to do is we're going to have a special kind of Christmas. We're going to have a very Tarte. And by Tarte, I mean the makeup brand. I'm sure you got that from the title of the video. I love Tarte. I've discovered Tarte maybe 1.5, 2 years ago now. I do buy the majority. In fact, every product I've ever bought Tarte so far has been through QVC. For the UK, there's really not that many places. In fact, I think QVC is the only place you can actually buy Tarte on, unless you buy it through the website. And the thing is, you buy it through the website, you don't normally get as good deals. And number two, you normally have to pay shipping and duty, taxes, shipping charges. It ends up very, very expensive. I have nothing on my face right now beyond the moisturiser, so you can see any evil. We have Mount Vesuvius building right here. I don't know why I have to have this on Christmas. We've got a few little odd red bits lurking here and there. My skin is not perfect. We've got dark circles to cover up. So I'll show you quickly what I've got in terms of Tarte products. Come with me. Okay, so we have my big pouch here, which has got, I think, an odd random 1 or 2 in it. My brush is here, but we have some new brushes to play with. I got, not that one, that's a Tarte brush though. I got 5 new different Morphe brushes from Beauty Bay. This one's now got a little bent, so I've got to find a new box for my brushes. And they were all relatively, really good prices. They were between, I think, £2 to £4 for a brush, and they seem, I mean, I've used them once or twice. I have some palettes here, these two that I got through QVC, mascaras, that's a number 7 highlighter. We have some primers in there, Tartelette and Bloom, Tartelette, and the Holiday palette. Now, as much as I really want to stick to just one of these palettes, I believe it's the Tartelette in Bloom. There's a lovely gold shade that's going to be perfect for Christmas. So I think we're going to have to mix and match palettes today. It's not something I like to do. So I don't have a complete arsenal of Tarte products only. There's certain items I don't have. I did have the matte liquid lipstick set, but unfortunately I did not get on with that. I think basically I've learned now I am a lipstick girl. I am not a liquid lipstick girl. I found them very drying. So let's get this show on the road, I think. So step number 1 for me is to prime my eyelids. And for me, if I'm doing a special makeup look or something where I want to go a bit all out, what I do first is actually put concealer on the lids because it will cover any creases, give you a flatter base to work from. So we're not going to overdo it. I've got Rainforest of the Sea concealer here, Tarte product in the shade Fair. And I'm just going to basically go dot and dot on the eyes. That's all I do. 1 dot. We'll be coming back to this concealer in a little while though. And then I'm going to take my Tarte concealer brush, which is this little chap here, use the fluffier end, buff it all over the upper eyelid. You can come down slightly if you want, but we are going to conceal the under eyes at a later time. So there's not much point to doing too much of that now. So eyeshadow primer, I use Urban Decay's eyeshadow primer potion. I could use my Tarte primer that I have in my bag, which is the Clean Slate Timeless primer, which is that one. We'll be using that later, but I don't really want to use that today. And this one is my go-to in terms of shadow primers. This is the shade, I think I've said Minor Sin. Got just a little bit of shading on it, a little bit of colour, a little bit of gold shimmer for the Christmas season. And I'm going to take that all over the lid. And then all I do is I go back in with a finger and just pat it into place. Next step is eyebrows. So I have 3 brow products here that I can really highly recommend to you. One of them is Benefit's Brow. Another one is the Bare Minerals Brow Master Brow Gel. I don't know if this is readily available everywhere in the UK right now. This of course came from QVC and I am in love with it as a product. This is in a universal taupe colour, whereas this is in deep 6. And then we have NYX's Tame and Frame. This is the budget buy out of every product you've just seen. This retails for about £5.50. It is another gel-based product. I have, I think, the shade Black/Noir, so black. But because we're going a little bit special today, I think I'm going to go with Brow. It's Christmas. I want to go a little bit crazy. But if you want a really good budget product that works just as well as both of these two, this one, absolutely can't recommend it enough. So I do have a Tarte spoolie and applicator end. Brow products also, this one does come with its own brush, but I'm not very keen on this one's brush. It's too thin, it's too flimsy, and it never really gives me the definition of a brow I like. So I'm instead going to go for my Bare Minerals Brow Master brush. So this is the Brow Master brush, slightly smaller spoolie, but the angled brush tip is a lot easier to use on the eyebrows, I feel. So I would go along first and just give my brows a quick brush, just shape them up so I know where I'm gonna kind of fill in and define. So my brows are less than perfect. If you've been around here a while, you know that. We're thin here, I have a gap here, especially on this side. The tails I generally quite like of my brow. They just need a little bit more definition on them. Start with this side, and what I do, if I can show you, is I don't fake my brows. I will fill in gaps, I will fill in anything that needs it, but I will not come over and draw brow where we don't need brow. That's just silliness. So I'm following the line here because this is where my natural brow begins, but obviously we're quite thin here, so I need a little bit of extra definition there. Come up to my arch, I always come up here, just defining where the natural arch hits, which is about here for me. Stroke it all into place. Let me slim that down. Get that even. And that to me is how I fill in my brows with no fuss attached. So the inner bit here, some people make the mistake of drawing over and then really heavily colouring that in. What I tend to do is take the pointed end of this brush, take it to the brow, brush it up. I've got a little bit too much colour there. Just to get the fluffiness that you would get if you were naturally more endowed in the brow department, if that makes sense.
Make sure this part's even here, because sometimes I do get a little bit of a wibbly wobbly bit and I don't like that.
And then I'll take the spoolie back through what I've just done, comb it all in just to soften it up, because the thing with me is that this looks scary now. My brows are naturally a dark colour, so when you're sitting here with one brow drawn on, this looks extreme, but it's not. That's the thing. All I've done is filled in my natural brow. I'm just going to do the other one for you. We've done this before on this channel. I've come on with just my brows drawn on and nothing else, and it looks so damned freaky. It will level itself out once we start applying makeup, I promise. It just looks, I almost look, you know, like the baby off The Simpsons with the unibrow. That's kind of how I feel right now once my brows are just drawn under nothing else. It looks so damn silly. So let's go on to the eyeshadow, my favourite part of any makeup look. So we have the Tarte Holiday palette. This contains 20 wonderful shades, and I do want to use some of this. So if you've not seen it, this is it. Marvel at its wonderfulness. I do every time I use it. So many shades, so much fun. But then moving on to Tarte, which was the first shadow palette they made, I believe. This one has a lot of basic matte shades. I don't believe I'm going to use these today, but I'll keep it out anyway, just in case I decide to. And then the third one, which I think is the one that has the gold in. It must be the one that has the gold in. Yeah, it's got that lovely firecracker gold shade there that I'm really interested in. Also got a lot of shades like Rebel, Funny Girl, all those kind of really shimmery shades that are going to be so festive. But there's a lot I want to use from both this one and the Holiday palette. These were my 5 little treats. In the form of these new brushes. The whole lot was just over £15, whereas normally with something like MAC or Zoeva. So how do I start? Where do I start, more importantly? I'm going to go first for base coat from the Holiday palette and just do a basic wash over my eyes in that, and for that I'll just go to the nice big fat blending brush. I probably shouldn't be using this one. Take a nice wash of it over the whole lid, or sort of over this part of the lid, not up to the brow, just to give a basic shade and give us something to build off. I kind of want to get a effect over, you know, like the cut crease kind of effect. I want to go for something like that. And I think I will definitely go back to Tarte Lit in Bloom now, because there's so many colours here that I just want to play with. So I'm going to start with a flat brush like this one. This was one that came actually with, we've seen this before. This came with a hair product. I'd spent over a certain amount of money and they gave me a set of free brushes. This was one of the ones that I actually kept. A lot of them were just not so good. So I think I'll start, and bearing in mind I'm trying to match my clothes, match to what I'm wearing today, which is this dress right here. I'm going to start with the shade Rebel, I think, which is this kind of reddy orangey shade right there. And I'm going to draw a line over here with this shade, and we're going to blend that out slowly as time goes on. So what I do when I apply this is I will apply colour to one side of the brush only, not to both sides.
Same process.
So this is the point in time where I take a billion other brushes and just blend it out and have a good damn time. I think looking at the shading, and that I've just tried it on my hand and it's so cute and sparkly, Funny Girl is ultimately what I'm going to go back over on the whole eye with. It's gold, it's sparkly, and it's going to be perfect for Christmas. Blend this out now. I don't want to go too dark, but I would eventually love to go back to the purpley shade Leader there. I always find myself going back to the purple shades. I'm going to go back to my holiday palette and see what I can do. And I think I'm going to go for the shade Different Strokes or Love You. I think I'm going to go for Different Strokes first, which is this chap here. As you can see, this has probably had the most use out of any shade I own. I'm going to go to one of my fun new brushes that I don't know what to do with. These all have numbers and fancy names, and I don't know what it means. Majority of you watching this, similarly, don't know what any of these names mean. I'm going to go for this one, I think, which is a M431, and I don't know what that means. So I'm going to take, what did I say, Different Strokes. That one there, that orangey kind of shade. I'm going to roll my brush in it, but I don't want a ton of colour, because if you take all this colour on the brush, you're going to end up looking silly as hell. So I give it a quick blowout. And then I'm going to come back over that line.
Just add to it.
I think I need a little bit more darkness back on this side of the eye. I think I got a little bit more of the other shade on that one, not quite on this one. Going to go to, I think, the shade, so I'm going to go for Love You. It's got a shimmeriness and a glitter pigment to it, but it's not metallic, which is what I was trying to avoid. Again, same principle. I'm going to take the brush into it. I roll it round. Some people stroke. I tend to roll or stroke. Same thing. I think I like a lot of these as well. They have quite pointy tips, so they're really good for getting right into the socket. So the last shade I'm going to do is, I'm going to stick with this brush actually, and I'm going to go back to the darker shade, possibly of Leader, I think, because I just think that's cute. You've got Activist and Smoke Show in these, but I think they're too dark for what I want to do. That's the shade of Leader right there. I'm going to take a slight bit here of the shade On the Monet, just really over this blending brush, just to give it a little bit more of a defined colour as it blends out. So what I'm going to do now is pack on the shimmery shade of Funny Girl, which is in this one. It's a gold shade and it's going to be perfect for Christmassiness today. And I'm going to do that with, again, one of the new brushes I have, which is this one. It's an MB16. I'm going to get quite a lot of colour on this brush right here, because I really want to take this all over this bottom lid. And I'm also using this to clean up any colour that I don't particularly want seen on the lid. So eyeliner, I don't have a Tarte liner unfortunately that I can share with you. I did, but I kind of ran out of it recently. I'm not normally or generally a liquid liner girl, but this Seat liner came with was it Birchbox we got it from recently, and this, if you guys have watched, do tell me, I think it was Birchbox, and it's a really, really nice fine tipped pen. So I'm going to use this one for liner today, also because it's going to sit across the shimmery shade a lot better. So if we revisit Tartelette in Bloom, I'm going to take the, oh no, I haven't used that. We'll use that in a bit. I'm going to come back with, I think, the shade Rebel for a redefinition of a few certain things. And I'm going to come slightly up here with Rebel. I'm going to take Leader, a few little dabs of Leader, and just work that in right there. So ignoring this bit, we're going to take that out slightly. I'm very happy with the way that looks right now. I can see me probably putting a little bit more glitter on it in time, but that to me is a completed shadow look until we get to under the shadow, and I will be smoking it out just a little bit since it's Christmas and I want to look amazing. So mascara. So mascara wise, I've got two Tarte ones that I love. One is Lights Camera Lashes, the other one is Tartiste, and my general primer is Bare Minerals is Their Real Liner. Their Real Primer, I'm sorry, which is this one right here. I actually could do with a new tube as it goes. Should have asked for that for Christmas, shouldn't I? So I'll start with this and then make a decision on which mascara in a minute, but I think I already know which one I'm going to use. And mascara wise, I think I'm going to go for Tartiste. It's the standout one. It's slightly better than Lights Camera Lashes, and it'll give me a really, really great definition of lashes over the festive season. Now, if you never used Tartiste, I did vlog about this, and it will be in this makeup category somewhere, so do go and look for it. But it's got magical powers. I'm going to put on one layer and show you how well it applies. So that is in one layer. Look at the length on that. It's insanely awesome. I can never believe it. Every time I apply it, it's almost, for me, as good as Their Real from Benefit. Maybe a little bit better, because it's animal cruelty friendly. Mascara done. I may go back in a little bit later, but I'm genuinely quite happy with the length that's given me. It's kept all the lashes separate. Let's sort out the face. The face always takes me a lot less time to do than anything else going. For me, the artistry is always in my eyelid makeup as opposed to anything else on the face. So due to the redness I have here, and I've got a few other blotches, I'm going to use two primers today. It's not something I would do, but it's Christmas and I want to look really nice. I'm going to use the Clean Slate Timeless Primer and the CC Coloured Clay Stick. Not normally one for colour correcting, but I will say this definitely helps dull out the redness. Another general one that I would use is Bare Minerals' neutralizing primer, but we're not doing a Bare Minerals Christmas, we're doing a Tarte Christmas, so I'll go with this one. So this has elements of pink, green and colour in its little stick, and it's one of my favourite things ever. So I think everyone applies it a bit differently. For me, I take it right over the areas of concern, up, across the head, down this cheek, never on my nose. I use excess on my nose because my eyes is too oily. And there's a multitude of ways you could buff this into your skin. I'm going to use a Tarte brush, this gold one right here. And I'm just going to blend that all over the skin so you can already see where that's aided in the redness of Mount Vesuvius going on there. I'm going to take a little bit of this one over it just purely because I love this one. This comes out in quite a thickish white formula and you literally only need a few dots here and there of it. I'm literally just going to apply that. And what this will do is get into any pores, any fine lines, and settle everything to give you an absolutely clean, smooth base that's really going to help keep your makeup on throughout the day. This is probably one of my favourite primers, I would say. Really strong, generally one that I use when I'm having a better skin day, but underneath the coloured clay stick I don't mind using it. I'm sorry to feel like I'm clogging you up with 2 primers. I did say I wanted to keep this as neutral and as natural as possible, but the time calls for it, unfortunately, when I've got a few evils going on, and I obviously want to look my best, as mentioned about 1,000 times. So that's generally what I would do with my primers. I'm quite happy to let that sit for a minute, so let's go on to under eye concealer. We're going to go back to Rainforest of the Sea. Love this one. It's not as good as Shape Tape. I think Shape Tape is a slightly heavier consistency. I've never touched it. I've never tried it. I would not know. It's a water-based one, so it's better for sort of me having slight dryness under my eyes. And I find this really comfortable, and it's also good as a general concealer as well. We're going to use it on here in a minute too. So Lee, when she's on QVC, will normally do 3 dots under the eyes for this. I'm going to go against that and do a line down and create the triangle of light, as it's called, and leave it at that. Some people will take it further down, some people will do it in drips. This is the way I like to do it. I also don't take it too far to the lash line because I do have slightly sensitive eyes, and while I know this is safe, I'm happier to buff the product over it as opposed to having it right under that lash line. Doing this concealer is the reason why we haven't taken any shadow under the eyes yet. So I'll take the Tarte brush that it came with and buff that in very, very easily. There's quite a lot of it, so you're going to have to be here for a couple of minutes buffing. Well, not a couple of minutes, but a minute or so, just getting that right in. And then you're going to end up with 2 light patches for a little while, but that's fine. Any concealer would do. The other one that I have that I got last weekend is the NYX Photo primer. It's in my bag. That one, again, budget buy, £5.50. Very, very, very good product. I was actually going to use the NYX Dark Circle Banisher under this, but I've just realised I've forgotten. But this stands alone, so I don't really need both. So now I'm going to take the flatter end of this, and I'm just going to go back over, particularly under that eye where I have the heavy, what I call baby line, and just make sure there's no product jammed in that whatsoever. Sometimes I can get creases and product trapped in there, and I'm also just going to take that end over where that unattractive line was and even that out there. Just take that back over the brow just in case I've got any dark product anywhere it shouldn't be. And that will just perfect the brow too. Now that's done, let's go back with Rainforest and just cover up any blemishes I feel I'm worried about. So the main one obviously is this one.
This one, this here, a little bit here, one there.
And that's really for me all I'm that worried about in terms of today. My skin's not having too bad a day. It's okay, it just could be better, especially with Mount Vesuvius. I'm not going to go back with the Tarte concealer brush. I'm going to use a completely different one. And this came with the CC stick. This is one that's used with the CC stick. You use the fluffy end. I just prefer to not use that one. So I'm going to take the sponge end, and I know it needs a little bit of a clean. I'm really sorry about that. You can dismount this piece, but I'm not going to. And similarly to how you do with a beauty blender, I'm just going to tap it over all the blemishes on my skin, leaving this one till last because I tend to leave the biggest ones so that the concealer has like a bit of time to settle on the skin, because it normally, I find, gets a heavier base. And that's already working amazingly well. So I'm not going to do too much more over that. Let's do some foundation. Now obviously I'm not going to use a liquid based foundation today, and there are quite a few Tarte ones out there. I have 2 Tarte foundations in my arsenal. This one is used for the worst skin days of my life. Today isn't one of them. Amazonian Clay is quite a heavy full coverage foundation. It's great for acne prone skin, I think, or something where you have big, quite heavy blotches. I've used this in the past, but I don't need it right now, so I'm not going to use it if I don't need to, especially not when I've applied product like that. Also, I'm not great with liquid foundation, so instead I'm going to use the Creamy Confidence powder, which is a hero of mine. I adore this product. Really lovely foundation. You can probably see how much I've used of it, but then I've had this a good few months and I've gone through quite a bit of it, so really it does last well. I have the shade Fair Neutral for anyone interested, and I'm going to use a Tarte brush to apply it. I'm going to use the angled kabuki that came with. This again has a sponge end that drops off, and we will use that sponge end later to just go back over Mount Vesuvius. But until then, I'm going to come in with this. I'd swirl it in 3 to 4 times, and then I tap it out on the mirror just to get rid of excess, and take it all over the face. I go under the eye just to, again, any creases, that helps soften them out. Stipple over the nose. I think some people think that brushes aren't a good idea for your skin. I've seen videos where people say that brushes upset the skin, that they cause irritation in the skin. They can, but it purely depends on what brush you have. This one is very soft and delicate on my skin, and I never feel I've got anything other than a lovely base when I'm wearing this. But then if you go to something like the Bare Minerals Full Flawless Face Brush, this is very rough, and even just doing that on the skin, I can feel my skin almost tingle in a not comfortable way with it. So it's not one that I would generally go for. I would just come back in and do a lighter layer, just really to cement it in. My skin tone generally now, because this foundation is quite even, yes, I am naturally this pale, and I'm quite comfortable. The only thing I would want to do obviously is cover up Vesuvius just a little touch more before we go on to cheek, highlight and finish. So if I take the sponge end, I take it round once in the powder, and then I'm going to use my tongue and poke out this blemish and pat, I'm going to say it beforehand, and pat it on over the tongue, because that's pushing out all of the redness and will help me cover it up better. So that, now you can see, is practically invisible, practically gone, and will stay hidden for the latter of the day. Really, really amazing product. That's foundation done. Am I going to go over it with more concealer and foundation, slim down anything? No, I'm not going to do any of that, because we don't need to do any of that. So let's move on to blush, because we're almost done with our complexion. And how long did that take? 10 minutes? 15? So moving on to 2 Tarte palettes I have here. This one only has a blush in, so I'm going to give this one a miss for today. And I'm going to go on to the Showstopper palette, which has blush and highlighter in it. It has a bronzer, but I'm not really one for bronzing. I just like to look like I've got a glow. I'm not a bronzy girl whatsoever. So we're going to hit on with the blush straight away. And I'm going to go back to the Tarte brush that I have here, this double-ended one, and I'm going to use this for my blush. I'm going to take it in, roll it 3 times, same method, tap it out. Now, blush is optional on how you apply it. I tend to prefer to not smile and just feel for the cheekbone here. Take it to my cheek and stroke up and out, as opposed to doing this. Because the thing is, you can do this, but the minute you stop smiling, all that cheek powder is just going to fall down, and it's not going to sit in the right place on your face. So I'm going to just do it this way, because this is how I feel comfortable. We're not going to end up with big pink smudges, don't worry too much. I do tend to blend it out if I'm a bit too worried about how much pink I've got going on. And also, once I've applied one last touch of finishing powder, I will go back over and re-highlight the cheek. Whew. So we've got a nice rosy glow going on there without looking OTT, without going overly mad. I'm still, as I said, a little bit afraid of blush. I'm not used to it. So if you feel you've got a little bit too much, just turn the brush over or use any fluffy brush you have. And we're just going to give it a quick blend out, leaving me quite happy with everything I've done. So to finish, 2 more steps, lips, and then we're going to finish the eyes. So I'm going to come back in with my Mineral Veil. As I said, I don't have a Tarte finishing powder. I know that there's an Amazonian clay finishing powder. I haven't got my hands on it yet, unfortunately. Come back in with this brush, because I love this brush. A little bit of Mineral Veil, swirl, tap, buff, and take it round. And this will settle everything on the skin. Stick on the nose. I always take a little bit under the eye as well, just to give that final perfection. And also that will, if there were any creases in your under eye concealer, that will help cover them up. Lovely. So I'm quite settled. Sometimes I will just go back and give myself a quick little tinge more pink. Sometimes, as much as I love Mineral Veil, it can sometimes erase a bit of those colours you just did. On to highlighter, and we're going to stick with the Showstopper Palette's highlighter, which is this shade here. And we're going to use 2 uses for this. One is to come up and highlight the cheekbone here. The other one is to actually come into this inner corner right here and give it a bit of brightness. This is something that I love to do with this product. It's a little bit of a trick. Whether we're supposed to do it or not, I don't know, but I like to do it. So for highlight, I will press quite hard, get quite a lot of colour on the brush. You can see it powdering there. And then I'm going to take this just on that highest point of my cheekbone there, where the light is naturally going to hit. So you can probably see the natural light from my window here coming in, and you can just see that dewiness now hitting my cheek, even when I turn. That's just giving us enough highlight to not feel overdone, but feel like we've got enough shimmy, shimmer and prettiness for the day. Same step here. I'm just going to feel for that top part.
Strike it up a little bit.
To take the highlighter in the inner corner, I'm going to use the smallest of and the stiffest of the brushes that I've got. Take a good amount of highlighter on it, and I'm just going to take that right into that inner corner there, because obviously I did take the darkness down onto the inner part of the lid, so I'm going to keep it to right there, and that's going to create a lovely amount of brightness wherever you are. Again, it's going to hit your eye at the right point too, just on that very inner corner, not disturbing the colour we've applied. So I'm going to redefine the flicked part of my shadow here, because it's slightly more flicked out here than on this one. So if you remember some of the shades that we did, I'm going to go back in with a few and just play around with them a little bit more. So I'll start with Rebel, come back with Leader, same with this side. I'm going to do a little bit of Rebel just to get a little bit more height on the shadow here.
And then blend out in the same way.
Yeah, so last two steps now. I'm going to do under the eyes slightly and then lips, and we're finished. We can go and enjoy Christmas Day. So for under the eyes, I don't want to go too mad, but I want it to match. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to stick to Tarte Lit and Bloom. And I'm going to start with the shade Funny Girl. I'm going to take my smallest brush again, and I'm going to take that under that lash line to create a shimmer. This isn't going to be too visible, but what I'm going to do now is mix it in with Leader. A smidge of Leader. I don't want to go too mad with Leader because it's quite so dark. And I'm going to draw a little darkness just to the middle part of the eye there. Not too much, but just enough. And that's creating just enough darkness to be quite glamorous without being overdone. So our final step is lip colour. Now, I don't have a Tarte lip colour, as I explained, so in the absence of that, what I'm going to do is use a very big budget buy product. And I came across these recently by happy accident when I was in Superdrug, and this is the product I'm on about. This is Freedom. Freedom is a drugstore brand, very, very inexpensive. You get 5 full-size lipsticks in this box for £5, and the colours are amazingly pigmented. They last very well throughout the day. This is the darkest one you can get, so of course that's the one that I chose, and I'm going to go for the sparkly red that I have in here, which is Pure Vamp, and I can't recommend the brand enough. I've got also a camouflage paste from them that I use as a concealer on other days. Obviously I was using Rainforest today because it's a very tart Christmas. This is the shade we're on about. I wanted to keep this as budget conscious as possible because obviously Tarte is more of a premium high-end brand, so this will give you guys a little bit more of something to be able to afford if you wanted to. And no lip liner, I'm just going to take it over, but I will use a lip brush at some point. And I think I'm ready for Christmas Day. It's December 25th. Go forth, eat, drink, be merry. Thank you everyone for watching this lovely Tarte Christmas and being here. If you'd like to subscribe to the channel, please do. Don't hesitate to tell me anything I did wrong. It's fine. I'm happy with what I've done. I feel festive. I feel glittery and happy. So it's up to you. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Do what you will. Don't get mean on the channel. Have a good Christmas. Have a good New Year. And I'll see everyone again for anything that's coming my way. Bye, everyone.